because at the end of the day, I still want to be able I don't dislike George Washington. I don't dislike even some of the most racist people in history. But I want to know their history, but I also want to know not only that, you know, hey, they were whatever, but I also want to know about the Shirley Chisholms. I also want to know about the Frederick Douglasses. And not even Nat Turner. I want to know more about Nat Turner than him just being some revolutionary. I want to know the Nat Turner that was out in the fields. I want to know the Nat Turner that grew up as a kid. I don't want to know just the narrative. You know, tuned into Urban Conservative. Tuned into Urban Conservative. Tuned into Urban Conservative. Tuned into Urban Conservative. Tuned into Urban Conservative.
Q9, my futon, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression of progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression of progression of a war we ain't asked for.
It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically, it's
we got this.
So,
revolutionary.
Frosty hand. Muhammad is the famed name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
Because at the end of the day, I still want to be able I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say. Grand Risings. Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. We're excited to have you join us on this journey of thoughtful discourse and community engagement. The Urban Conservative is proudly sponsored by the Leon Block Network, an organization committed to promoting transparency, truth, and accountability in our media landscape. Here at Urban Conservative, our mission remains steadfast to bring you the latest news directly from the streets, addressing critical topics such as gun violence, crime, politics, and perhaps most importantly, exploring solutions to the profound challenges our communities face. As we embark on this third season, the focus is clear. It's time to actively contribute to the transformation of our communities for the better. How can we achieve this? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach that starts with reconnecting with our core family values. Strengthening our sense of community is paramount, fostering bonds that transcend the barriers that often divide us. Moreover, it involves embracing our foundational roots, recognizing the historical and cultural threads that weave through the fabric of our society. In this season, we're calling for more than words. We seek action. It's a plea to move beyond mere rhetoric and engage in tangible, impactful initiatives that contribute to positive change. The time for empty words has passed. Now more than ever, we need to put our convictions into action. Together, united by a common purpose, we can make a substantial and lasting difference in the well-being of our communities. So join us on this journey as we explore not only the challenges, but also the opportunities for growth and progress. Together, let's turn our shared vision for stronger, safer, and more connected communities into a reality. Thank you for being a part of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal, a platform dedicated to fostering change and making a positive impact on the world around us. Shut up and help. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Man, let me start off with saying with this, man. For the next couple of shit, not even for just the next couple of days, for the next to November 5th to the election, all we're gonna hear about is pandering. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be made promises that will never happen. And I feel like, when are people gonna wake up? You know what I'm saying? Because it honestly showed last night to me that politics is bullshit, right? I'm sitting at work last night, and the State of the Union was addressed. Biden's State of the Union was last night, and my phone starts going crazy. I'm listening to a Twitter space, 27Ks actually, and my phone is just me. I'm like, what the hell going on? So I pick up my phone and look, and I see from Raw Alerts, where I get a lot of my news from, so I'm looking at it, and I see that there is a protest in DC that they stopped Biden's motorcade. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So I start watching the videos, and, I get into my media chat, and I'm like, yo, y'all, anybody, awake by their computers, blah, blah, blah. I said, there's a lot going on right now. I think people really need to start paying attention to something that we should really, talk about. Because I see a lot of similarities between, 2024 and the 70s. And I say that because there's a lot of the same issues. We have the anti-war, we have immigration, of course, Black rights, police brutality, and so many, our education, wealth gap, wealth disparities, affordable housing, food stamps, healthcare. It's damn near like every 4 years, it's always the same shit over and over again, right? And these people, they like to boast about numbers. Oh, jobs are at an all-time high and unemployment is low. I want to say this, right? If jobs are at an all-time high, how is it that you have so many companies out here closing for the simple fact they can't find employees, right? Or you see all of these places that are looking for employees. So I get tired of hearing about how our job market is so strong, but yet that it's the best that it's ever been. But then yet in the same breath, they will sit here and write legislation to make it easier for people that are coming over the border and who need work visa, work papers to work, so that they can enter the job market because they have a set of skills. And I'm just over here thinking like, damn, this shit it's got to be a oxymoron. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this shit is so hypocritical. To me, it is. Did anybody hear what Biden said last night? That's all I want to know, because I have about 18 minutes of video that I want to go through, and I think that it's very important that we go through these, because I want to break it down point by point by point by point, right? Of everything that he's saying about the border, what he's saying about fentanyl, what he's saying about the gun violence, what he's saying about our economy, because I'm going to prove that these some dirty motherfucking liars. And we need to vote a different way. I'm not sitting here telling you not, if you're a Democrat, I'm not sitting here telling you to vote Republican. That's not what I'm asking you to do, right? If you're going to keep voting Democrat, hold these niggas accountable. That's all I'm asking. Hold these motherfuckers accountable to their word. To their word, right? To their word. Because the more that we literally demand things, we have to think about the cost of living. We have to think about wages, right? Because that shit is different for everybody, regardless of what state you live in, what city you live in, because there's a difference of living in southern Minnesota to living in the Twin Cities. So we have, number one, with our education system, with how public safety, our public transit, everything is different from down here to what it is in the cities. But I see in certain areas, I see a lot of talk about broadband, but nobody's talking. They talk about the rural areas. How is it that a inner city populated area doesn't even have broadband and nobody talks about it? You have broadband all around North Minneapolis, Plymouth. I've seen people from Plymouth said that they didn't have high-speed internet, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, and yet nobody talks about that shit. But everybody, and I've literally showed the maps because, and the reason why I showed the maps on a post was for the simple fact of, you looked at all the ShotSpotter microphones in Minneapolis that were majority over North Minneapolis, right? But yet there's no broadband. You barely get phone service. You go anywhere on PIN, you barely get any service. That goes for internet, that goes for phone. And it doesn't matter if you have Verizon. It doesn't matter if you have T-Mobile, AT&T, because it was happening to everybody, right? And yet nobody talks about that. Why is it that a highly populated area, just because it's poor, should have the same amenities as everybody else? And that's the whole thing of it is, we're sitting here fighting for equality, and you have cities that in certain areas that aren't even equal because they look at it as bad areas. It's crazy because, just like yesterday, I was talking about ghettos, right? And how everybody says that they have a ghetto. Red Wing, the East End, right? Which is one of the most, first of all, when we talk about the East End of Red Wing, that is one of the first areas that had people were living in, right? It's one of the older areas of Red Wing. And when people look at that area now, you look in those neighborhoods because there's a lot of older housing. There's a lot of houses there that are beautiful, but haven't been taken care of because of the simple fact of there wasn't any rental licensing. There wasn't any house inspections. So literally you had over 30-something years of landlords being able to do what they wanted to do. So that's why there was a black mold. To this day, there still is a black mold problem. There's lead-based paint. And yet we can't even get anywhere when it comes to talking about, I've literally had to deal with the city of Red Wing and other families with the lead-based paint because it was literally like, and this is what people don't understand, right? Is just because you paint over it, you're not getting rid of it, dude. Like, and that's one of the things that I'm glad that there is people that call that shit out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the most educated, but there is other people like Daniel Suter from Homeline or Robert Johnson, people that are educated and articulate and know the ins and outs of the system and will help you, succeed. And it pisses me off because we have legal services that really don't fight for their clients. And I've witnessed that firsthand because it'll all be that the tenant is right, and the landlord is wrong, but all because it wasn't done by the law, by the courts. And that's what I don't understand is because how can two wrongs Trump will write. I will never understand that, because in my eyes, right, if you as a tenant are renting something, right, and you have black mold, you have lead-based paint, you have wire issues, electrical that can cause fires, and your home has literally been, you've called the city, they came in and wanted the landlord to come fix these problems, but then the landlord stalls, blah, 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 this. It's like, how is it that if a person stops paying their rent because of, and I get not everybody is able to maybe not put that money up, because maybe they do put that money up and something happens, right? Car issues, or, your baby gets sick, you got to take time off from work, shit happens. Because for most of us, we all live paycheck to fucking paycheck. Am I right or am I wrong? Like, real shit. We literally live paycheck to paycheck, because I literally see day in and day out of people, all it takes is maybe somebody needing 4 new fucking tires and they're broke and they can't pay their rent. And we don't think about that shit, because at the end of the day, we all think that, money grows on trees, or that, if you are poor, there is services out here that people help you. No, it ain't always like that. It's not. We live in a world that we would think is like that, right? So Robert says the courts are elected and know who pays them. If the law is against them and you do not have a lawyer, the law doesn't matter. They're fine. And you make a very good point, Robert. And that's the crazy part, because we literally, even just with last night, and you bring up a great point, that even our justice system is there's 2 different types, right? There's a justice system for the poor. Well, matter of fact, there's all types of justice systems, because there's one for poor whites, there's one for poor blacks, there's one for poor Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? We all have a different levels to this shit. And until we understand that there's levels to this shit, right? Because we'll call it racism. No, that's not what it is. It's called classism. It's called rankism. It's called colorism. We got to get rid of that fucking mentality that it's all about racism, because it's not. It's not all about racism, because at the end of the day, I know literally that there's people that look like me, talk like me, but actually stop change. They stop reform, all in the name of not white supremacy, but a system, an establishment that would love to remain in place, right? And they want to add on to it so that it stays in place. That's why they're making it where illegals, I'm going to call it what it is, and I don't care what people say, illegals, right? Illegals. There's nothing, you know what? Let me get into these videos, because Biden said some shit last night that should really piss people off. The fact that he's comparing slavery and what's going on with our migrant issue. Like, that's not the same. Our people, first of all, some of them probably didn't want to come over here. They weren't looking for a better life, because they didn't know anything better. And first of all, America wasn't better, because we fucking built this shit.
That's what you're seeing.
Well, the president's about to enter a gridlocked, some would say dysfunctional Congress that has struggled in order to just do the basic things government's supposed to do. Keep the lights on, keep the offices open. There's been some jockeying for seats along that center aisle. I saw people lining up there, members of Congress, as early as 2 p.m. to secure that seat and get that moment to shake hands with President Biden. Among those on the Republican side, though, and I'll note this because she's been inching her way closer and closer, is perhaps his most vitriolic critic, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. And we spotted just a short while ago, also on the floor, a former member of Congress. His name might ring a bell, Nora. George Santos. He still has floor privileges.
And so does this. In November, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now.
You know that's bullshit because literally see, this is the shit I hate because nobody ever wants to fact check these people, right? Because they're not getting court dates within just fucking 6 months, right? It ain't happening that fast. Literally, Fort Snelling has court dates all the way out to what I think it's like 2032 right now. So I don't want to hear that the immigration court right now is over fucking crowded. Because I hate when they get up here and do this type of shit, right? Because we literally hear every day in the media, well, maybe not the media you see, CNN, MSNBC, but I see it. The kids in these facilities, but yet you're talking about, come on, man, stop it. And that's what I'm saying. That when are we going to call people out for the lies when we know they're lying, but yet we just pretend, and then you have these, never mind, because y'all, I'm going to call them coons, which I've never denied.
What are you against? 100 more high-tech drug detection machines to see America. That's clean. This bill will save lives. I mean, I don't
understand what he's talking about. He's talking about his new fucking crime bill, right? Biden's new crime bill, which gives, and this is what he's going to push, right? But yet won't literally won't end qualified immunity, right? Won't even let out that people who are wrongfully convicted out. Won't even pardon them, right? But yet you're going to do this new crime bill. You're going to make it sound good about stopping all the fentanyl and putting all these cameras and these detections. But what you're not going to tell people is that it's going to infringe on their rights, right? But at the end of the day, because they're not going to hire more police, what we're going to get is more artificial intelligence. We're going to get more cameras. We're going to get more spy shit that you people actually think that is a good idea until it starts infringing on our rights.
Being any new president, new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border of migrants at the border is overwhelming. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, yeah. You're saying, oh, look at the facts. I know. I know you know how to read. Majority in the House, but unfortunately, Placer called members of Congress and the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win. He viewed it as a political win for me and a political win for him. It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner, not. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth it taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks.
This nigga is crazy.
I would respectfully suggest my Republican friends owe it to the American people, get this bill done. We need to act now.
What the fuck up? I'm getting rid of that.
And my predecessors watching, instead of paying politics and pressuring members of Congress to block the bill, join me in telling the Congress to pass it. We can do it together. But apparently, here's what he will not do. I will not demonize immigrants saying they are poison in the blood of our country. I will not.
Oh, look at that. Look at the immigrant stand up. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Jamaican.
I will not ban people because of their faith. Unlike my predecessor on my first day in office, I introduced a comprehensive bill to fix our immigration system. Take a look at it. It has all these and more. Secure the border. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, and so much more. But unlike my predecessor, I know who we are as Americans. We're the only nation in the world with a heart and soul that draws from old and new. Home to Native Americans and ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Home to people of from every place on earth. They came freely. Some came in chains. Some came when famine struck, like my ancestral family in Ireland. Some to flee persecution, to chase dreams that are impossible anywhere but here in America. That's America. And we all come from somewhere. But we're all Americans. Look, folks, we have a simple choice. We can fight about fixing the border, or we can fix it.
That's what's crazy is, what I don't understand is, they sit there and they say all of that, right? And they make it a political issue. And then he brings up about slavery. He brings up about being the dreamers, like, right. But you're not talking about all the shit that's really going on, because you say that they're paying $8,000 to be whatever across the border. So, but it's okay for them to pay $250. Like, make that make sense, because we got motherfucking buses coming into Minneapolis twice a week from Mexico, Del Rio. And you literally heard, like I said in the video yesterday, I showed the video yesterday, these people literally admitted to getting off the Del Rio bus. So don't sit there and when American Experiment or American Experience, and you have these Republican news stations like Alpha News making stories that Star Tribune won't touch, or not KTTC, my bad. Well, they won't touch it either. They won't even touch the homeless problem in Rochester. But Carrie Levin, Fox, they get mad and want to call names because of journalism, that people are actually covering stories that you guys can't cover. How are you going to get mad because somebody's covering stories you can't cover? Right? And then you want to call them, you want to banter them with words and name calling for all putting out what's really going on, about informing people, right? Because y'all are talking about the violence. Where's the violence coming from? Because y'all literally, all I heard you talking about, Mr. President, is illegals. You didn't say nothing about Americans, right? Everything that you're trying to even do with this crime bill, it has to do with our border. Majority has to do with our border, with the drugs, with the guns, with the sex trafficking, with the human trafficking. But yet you're gonna weaponize it against Americans. And that's what I'm saying. These bills sound good. They look good on paper. But when it's time to implement them, it be fucked up. And how many times are we gonna have to learn this shit over and over and over again? Because I don't literally want my kids to be having the conversations that I had to have with my parents. Be like, damn, what the fuck happened? How y'all allowed the 1994 crime bill and don't even say shit, right? Because I'm sure there's been a lot of conversations that people have had with their parents. I've had some. They haven't all been pretty. But I damn not sure. Right, exactly. Right. People don't even understand that. Yeah, Haiti right now is yeah, man, we got so much shit going on, it's ridiculous. And I don't think people are paying attention because we're literally about to have a war in America. Everybody's talking about that World War III. Man, these motherfuckers is definitely, we've literally, what they say, we've had almost over 7 million people come into the country in the last couple of years, like 6-7 years. Where the fuck are we putting these people? Because now you see, I seen a story from the Minnesota Reformer about the homeless shelters in Hennepin County are majorly immigrants. They're not even people that are actually Minneapolis residents. They're people that are coming up here that don't have visas, they don't have work papers, so they're out on Lake Street, in which DA weird ass Bullock is more than just fucking 12 people. That's the shit that bothers me, right? Is they take a picture and will say, oh, it's just that many people. No, see, what you should have done if you would have ran around the corner, instead of just looking at the picture and not giving the justice that it really deserves. Because at the end of the day, I don't understand, people are so used to lying, I think, that it's just, for them, it's just fucking natural, right? Because that's what I don't get. That's what I don't understand. But I want to get into this other video from last night that broke down Mr. Biden. It was basically his key moments. And I think it's important that we look at all of it and see what he was talking about. Because it does affect all of us. At the end of the day,
is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. It wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Now, my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a quote. A former president actually said that, bowing down to a Russian leader. I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable. I say this to Congress, we have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill. History is literally watching. History is watching. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk, emboldening others to do what they wish to do us harm. My message, the president known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win. There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look, It's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that. Clearly. Clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. Before I came to office, the country was hit by the worst pandemic and the worst economic crisis in a century. Remember the fear, record losses. Remember the spikes in crime and the murder rate, raging virus that took more than 1 million American lives of loved ones, millions left behind. A mental health crisis of isolation and loneliness. A president, my predecessor, failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people, the duty to care. I think that's unforgivable. I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have. It doesn't make news in 1,000 cities and towns. The American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told. Wall Street didn't build America. They're not bad guys. They didn't build it, though. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class. I say to the American people, when America gets knocked down, we get back up. We keep going. That's America. That's you, the American people. It's because of you America's coming back. It's because of you our future is brighter. It's because of you that tonight we can proudly say the state of our union is strong and getting stronger. Folks, the Affordable Care Act, the old Obamacare, it's still a very big deal. Over 100 million of you can no longer be denied health insurance because of pre-existing condition. But my predecessor, and many in this chamber, want to take this prescription drug away by repealing Affordable Care Act. I'm not going to let that happen. We stopped you 50 times before it will stop you again. Many of my friends on the other side of the aisle want to put Social Security on the chopping block. If anyone here tries to cut Social Security, Medicare, or raise the retirement age, I will stop you. The working people who built this country pay more into Social Security than millionaires and billionaires do. It's not fair. We have two ways to go. Republicans can cut Social Security and give more tax breaks to the wealthy. That's the proposal. Oh no, you guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut? I kind of thought that's what your plan was. Well, that's good to hear. I'll protect and strengthen Social Security and make the wealthy pay their fair share. In November, my team began serious negotiations with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, yeah. You're saying low. Look at the facts. I know you know how to read. I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win, he viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him, it's not about me. I'd be a winner, not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say,
What's
my
her
heart
name?
goes out to
Lincoln, or
having
was it
lost
Lake?
children myself. I understand. People pay because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. Only 6 months, 6 weeks. The idea is it's highly unlikely that people pay that money and come all that way, knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks, yes, my referendum, I did do by establishing the first ever Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the White House, that the Vice President is leading the charge. Thank you for doing it. Meanwhile, my predecessor told the NRA he's proud he did nothing on guns when he was president. Oof. After another shooting in Iowa recently, he said, when asked what to do about it, he said, just get over it. There's his quote, just get over it. I say, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I'm proud we beat the NRA when I signed the most significant gun safety law in nearly 30 years because of this Congress. We now must beat the NRA again. I'm demanding a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Pass universal background checks. None of this. I taught the Second Amendment for 12 years. None of this violates the Second Amendment or vilifies responsible gun owners. Tonight, I'm directing the U.S. military to lead an emergency mission to establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean on the coast of Gaza that can receive large shipments carrying food, water, medicine, and temporary shelters. No U.S. boots will be on the ground. A temporary pier will enable a massive increase in the amount of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza every day. And Israel must do its part. Israel must allow more aid into Gaza to ensure humanitarian workers aren't caught in the crossfire. And they're announcing they're going to have a crossing in northern Gaza. To the leadership of Israel, I say this: humanitarian assistance cannot be a secondary consideration or a bargaining chip. Protecting and saving innocent lives has to be a priority. As we look to the future, the only real solution to the situation is a two-state solution over time. And I will always be president for all Americans because I believe in America. I believe in you, the American people. You're the reason we've never been more optimistic about our future than I am now. So let's build a future together. Let's remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So that was that. I don't know what to really take from that. I know if I was somebody that was on the fence of voting, I don't think that would lead me what he said last night. I couldn't vote that way. I couldn't vote Democrat for president. And again, I couldn't vote for Donald Trump. I did vote for him in the primary because the person that I wanted to vote for, there is no primary for them, independent candidate, Andy Williams. And I hope to have him on here soon so that I can talk about Andy and his campaign and how we can help, just not with, with the presidential election, but also of how can we educate and inform, because I see people like, and I want to say this because I mean, some of these people have some of the biggest platforms on Twitter. I think some of their spaces are great. You're always going to have the trolls. You're always going to have the shit starters, but I think it's great where, you get into these Twitter spaces and you're able to debate without people getting in their feelings, and you can, because here's my point of it, right? Everybody has a point. We can all go back into history and make certain points of, where we went wrong or, how we can fix it, right? But let's keep it about facts. We don't have to get personal, because at the end of the day, this isn't about us. This is about everybody. This is about our community, because at the end of the day, that's why I don't even get into it with people anymore. I just laugh at the shit, because what does it really help? What does beefing or fighting somebody do for our community? That's what I don't understand. Especially when we're supposed to be better in our community. Now, when it's time to call out the fuck shit that is going on, like the scams, these nonprofits, all this money that is supposed to be empowering and bettering our communities, and it's doing the opposite. So it's like, what do we do? What do we do when we literally have, and this is my belief, right? And this is why I believe that the political system that we have right now is never going to be able to better our communities. It's never going to be able to better our education system, because it's always going to be a coin toss of who's in power, regardless if it's Republican or it's Democrat. It's always going to be a fight, because at the end of the day, they're not fighting for the people. They're fighting for their establishment. Because if they were fighting for the people, we wouldn't be having these simple-minded ass arguments. We wouldn't be on here calling each other bitches. We wouldn't be on here calling each other faggots. We wouldn't be doing none of that name calling. It would be all about solutions, right? But it's not, because at the end of the day, we have, people say it's all about racism, right? Or white supremacy. Y'all ain't even fighting white people. You're fighting each other. So how is it you're fighting white supremacy and racism when you're literally fighting people that look like you? No, what you're fighting is ageism, genderism, sexism, rankism, classism, right? That's what y'all are sitting there arguing about. Because you're not arguing about how we get to solutions, because you're literally arguing over of who they fucking, right? We're arguing about if they're a man or a woman, if they're Black American, if they're African American, if they're a tetherer, if they're a FBA, if they're a snitch, if they're this, they're that. Like, god damn. Like, I really do feel like there's some really powerful people on these apps, right? You have Charleston White, You have 27K. You have Sir Major. You have, and here's the thing: I don't even like Sir Major, but I have to give it him. He does have a platform. You know what I'm saying? He does have a following, even though his masses, I really feel like look like asses. But that's for another day and another time. You have the same with BLM. You have the same with My Son the General. You know, everybody's got a following. But it's like, to me, is when it really comes to standing up for Black people, they really don't. They really don't. And that's part of the problem, because we sit here and we'll say by any means necessary. We'll get all that rah, rah, rah. But when it really comes down to it, we like church mice. That's what I really feel, because I don't see that same energy. I see what's crazy is, you know, the last couple days I've just been, and I wanted to, last week I was starting to get into spaces and talking but then I had to pull back a little bit, right? I had to pull back because of the simple fact of when you're literally trying to have an articulate conversation with somebody and really talk about solutions and not do no name calling, but you're out here, you know, you're talking about, you know, acts, you're out here talking about legislation and different things and how it was implemented. Yes, because on paper it looked good, but when it was time to implement it, that's where the fuck ups begin, right? So, but to be literally where people get mad over that, and then you get mad because you don't understand what I'm saying, that's not how you're going to get mad at me. Why don't you go do what I did? Research. Go understand what I'm talking about, because we have to understand city charters. We have to understand that each state has a constitution, because it all falls. Why do you think every laws are different in every state? Because every constitution is different. Every city charter is different. Just like, okay, you take it to Minneapolis. There's, in the city of Minneapolis, you're not really allowed to buy menthol cigarettes, right? Just like the city of Richfield. And there's some other cities down there too, right, where you can't buy menthol cigarettes, but they're allowed to do that. But because it's a city ordinance. Now you get to the state. It takes everybody in the state, right? It takes so if there was, just like of how they got all this bullshit passed last year, is because they had the House, the Senate, and the governor. So basically they're the bosses right now, the Democrats. So anything, as long as they can get a certain amount of votes in both the House and the Senate, which is half, more than half, and they have that for both, they can get whatever they want them, but they have to go through the committees, which they still have committee power. That's why we're not seeing amendments, you know. And it's just like with, I know a lot of people are in well, I'm not going to say a lot, but some people are still in an uproar kind of debate with the SRO issue. You know, some seen it as the Democrats were kind of pandering to law enforcement with the wording that they put in the bill, and you know, different things like that. And I kind of feel that's what they did. I kind of feel like they pandered to law enforcement a little bit, because at the end of the day, you can't say that prone restraint killed George Floyd and say that you're going to take it off the books and then put it back on just for kids back in the schools. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then you want to get up there and you want to spit all these data and statistics. Well, I'm going to bring up some names to you because you have some explaining to do. And that's how I feel like really right now, people should really be in an uproar in Minnesota. And I'm going to explain to you why you should be in an uproar, because literally they told you they were going to fund education, right? So why is it that you see all these school districts coming out saying they're going to have to make these cuts? Because I'll tell you right now, Minneapolis just announced that they're getting rid of pre-K. Pre-K. And who is that going to affect the most? Poor. In what areas? Predominantly poor Black areas. But they don't want to have that. See, they get rid of shit that's going to affect our people, our families, our loved ones, our community, our neighbors. And because we want to vote a certain way, because we think it's the lesser of two evils, when the fuck are we going to realize that the lesser of two evils is fucking up our future generations? Because we are literally forgetting about the same things that we grew up. That's why I talk about in the opening statement, in my intro, I talk about bringing back the core family values. Because I'll tell you right now, we didn't grow up like this. And I'll tell you right now, if anybody can literally say that they grew up with what's going on right now and your parents wouldn't speak up about it, then something's really wrong. Because I'll guarantee it right now that if you're my age, 46, and you lived in an impoverished, poor community, right, area, you can't tell me that you didn't have a neighborhood grandma, a neighborhood auntie, and that you wasn't getting whoopings in the streets, and then you would go home with them and get another whooping from your parents. You don't see that no more, because at the end of the day, you better not touch my motherfucking kid. Well, come out here and take care of it. Because it wasn't like that when I was growing up, man. People respected their elders. And that's what I don't understand. We have so much disrespect and so much hatred. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why. Like, I really starting to believe that when we talk about that generational hurt, that generational fucking trauma, I think it's because we are a little bit smarter and a little bit known about our history, because we have advantages that our parents didn't. So we're a little bit more angered. We see the slavery. All they got told was fictional shit like Roots, or we're actually seeing shit that is archived, that they knew was going to come out at some point one day, right? That people are going to go look at historical societies and look up their archive videos, and which people should really go do, because there is a lot out there. These stories, the Emmett Till, there's thousands of Emmett Tills. Just like my Uncle Willie Francis, there's thousands of those. There is so many injustices that has been done in this country that they don't ever want to talk about. And I know y'all heard Biden say illegals, that an illegal killed Lakin, right? An illegal did that. But yet he wants to allow these people in, all because of the simple fact of that they might be from a fucked up, persecuted, famished area. Well, what about America? Because there's niggas over here famished. I remember growing up and seeing all them children foundations, or Feed a Child. Because y'all used to spotlight the shit, them little African kids with the flies on their belly, the belly poking out and all that shit. Why don't y'all go into these encampments and do that? Instead of us trying to always help somebody else, why don't we help our backyards? Why don't we fix up our backyards? Because that's what's crazy. I'll never understand that. We always want to do some shit for some other people than to do for ourselves. Right. No, you make a good point, Robert. It is, and that's what's crazy. Robert says it's all about me and less about community. To have community values, you have to have a community. Individuals in an area doesn't make a community. You got to know and support each other. Definitely. And that's what's wrong. You make a very good fucking point, Robert, because I'll tell you right now, nobody knows their neighbors anymore. Nobody knows Boo Boo and Tutu down the street. What's crazy is I just had a conversation with my mom the other day, and we were talking about certain neighborhoods we grew up in, right? And we literally, even to this day, could damn near name off all of our neighbors. Motherfuckers can't do that no more. Niggas they don't know their neighbors like that. Because, man, I'm gonna mind my motherfucking business. Nope, hell no. I don't want to know who they are. That's what's wrong. We don't even like the fact of getting to know each other anymore, because we always think somebody got a hidden agenda instead of just seeing the shit for what it really is. That's what's crazy. How many people could name every neighbor in their neighborhood? Not many can, because You don't have those community them neighborhood barbecues anymore. You don't have none of that shit. The only time they do that is when the popos do it. Community night out or whatever they want to call that shit. That's the only time of the neighborhood night out, whatever it is, national night out. Yeah, that's the only time motherfuckers really come out and do shit. You don't even see family. I see more funerals than family reunions. I see more family reunions at funerals. Niggas ain't even going to family reunions anymore to get together. They get together at funerals. And then it'd be a whole shitstorm. A day of people coming together and uniting turns to some fuck shit. You can't even literally go honor and grieve your loved one without a shooting, without motherfuckers fighting, motherfuckers having some type of animosity. Like, get over that shit. It's crazy when you literally have to have security at funerals. And loved one, that's what I will never understand that. Like, where have we gone wrong as a society? I feel like we're a society on lean and pills. Like, I think the cocaine and the weed was better than the fucking lean and pills these niggas out here doing, because god damn, I feel like we're just going down a drain hole and people are just okay with it. Because I'll tell you right now that yes, a lot of this legislation looks fucking great. It looks good. But it's not. It's not. And I'll be the first to admit it, man, because I'll tell you right now, I am somebody that has authored city ordinances, city resolutions. And I'll tell you right now that I've learned a lot since getting the rental ordinance passed and rental licensing ordinance passed in Red Wing, and the proclaiming racism a public health crisis. I'll tell you right now, because I left so much shit out of it, but really I didn't, because it was really written in there. It was Democrats, white liberals, that literally had me change the wording. They had me change the wording, all because at the end of the day, the words that I had written were going to change shit. That's not what they wanted. It wasn't in the game. And what's crazy is I'm going to go over that one day, right? I'm going to show the resolution that got passed, and then I'm going to show you the one that I originally had, because I still have it. And I want to show people, because I got called militant for that. For them certain words, because it was about black, right? It was about black because I pointed out certain shit about Red Wing. I said, you have legislation written for Hispanics. You have legislation, ordinances written for Hmongs, but there's nothing for black people here. You don't give us no type of respect, because at the end of the day, when you bring up all the history, they always want to sweep it under the rug. Because if actual black lives really did, if black history really mattered, why aren't we talking about the first black businesses in Minnesota? Why aren't we talking about our forefathers, our foresisters that were teachers? But because there is no census records, because white supremacists, and I'm sure that's what the fuck happened, is that niggas got them white motherfuckers got mad and said, you know what, we don't want this history getting out, so we're just going to burn it. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. Minnesota has no census records from 1890 to 1905. That's not a lie. Go look it up, because they literally had to go to the legislator to write legislation so that they could get rid of it. Yeah, I'm not lying. This was like 1911 when they did all of that, 1913. Go look it up, because that's why you can't find certain people. That's why, but you can, and that's what's crazy, because a man asked me one time, and I'll say who it was. It was Mayor Wilson in Red Wing, Minnesota. When I found out about the lynching that happened in the railroad tracks, right? I found it found the article, And then I looked up the census records. And when you can find this person on the census records, come on, man. Y'all some motherfucking idiots. How can I literally, and this is the crazy part, right? Is everything matched up from the 1885 census to the article that was written in 1892 to what the person. But yet, that's not a real story. It's not true. Stop it. It's because y'all got rid of it. And that's what's sad to me. If people actually looked into our history, because I'll tell you right now, we talk about the South so much, but don't nobody want to talk about the Northern Jim Crow laws. Don't nobody want to talk about that shit because they were literally the same. How is it that the Northern was so much better, but literally you had black barbershops that were in, let's say, hotels where black people couldn't even go in, right? The black people could literally work at some of these restaurants. They could be the dishwasher. They could wash the clothes. They couldn't eat there. They couldn't maybe get a hotel room because they were white-only establishments. So don't tell me that the North was any better than the South. It was just hidden laws, right? Y'all sat there and were nice about it, right? We're down South. They would literally be upfront about how they disliked us. But up North, y'all would be, hey, Mr. Neal. You know I can't stand that old goofy ass nigger. Why do we should just lynch his dumb ass tonight anyway. Fuck him. Wait, hey, Billy, you know we supposed to like the darkies. Come on, we got to get together with the colors. Black Lives Matter, buddy. Like, come on, man, get the fuck out of here. That's how I literally feel. Like, how are we? This is what I don't get, right? Motherfuckers out here been talking about niggas for Trump. How you supposed to be a black person for not? You supposed to be all about black people, but the nigga you want for president is white. You literally are out here talking about niggas for Trump, and he ain't nothing like us. He ain't nothing like us. Just because he's the Democrats are going at him. What? That all of a sudden him make him black? Huh? That's what I want to know. Because is that what it is to be black? Is to be demonized, to be criminalized? Is that what it means to be black? Because that's all I heard from that nigga. The shit that he was talking that he was proud about. Well, they're going after me. Man, we go through that shit every day for our simple fact of our skin color. So is that what it means to be black? You're a criminal? You're a thug? Is that what it means? Let me know, man. So when the Eastern European immigrants were coming in and starting their own businesses, needing jobs, etc., it was at the same time when they had to divide to be accepted, right? And that's what's crazy. How many immigration acts have we had? Because there's been quotas, there's been certain amounts, right? They had to stop allowing so many, then they stopped letting certain people in, right? But come on now. Like, stop it. Why do you think, okay, here's the thing of it is, I think back after 9/11, or not, I got to go back for Desert Storm, right? Which was in the early 90s, right? So I think like Desert Storm started in 80. And Robert, please help me. So it was like 89, 90 when Desert Storm happened, right? And then what happened after Desert Storm? We got an influx of immigrants, right? That's when the majority, the Somalians, and then the Ethiopians and the Nigerians started coming over in large flocks. Because that's when, I'll tell you right now, that's when I started to notice them, was 94, 96, all between them eras, because they weren't over here like that. They weren't over here like that. Yep. Right. I knew it. Right. You just got to put two and two together. Any war that has ever gone on, we've always had an immigration problem. Our borders have always been open. We've always had an influx of people coming through. You go back through any period of time, it's always been like that. Always. And I don't understand of how people can't connect that, because we'll literally go start wars and then accept those people over here because people want to talk about the Holocaust. Why did America pay for Holocaust victims, but we can't even pay for the shit that we did to Black Americans here. Y'all don't want to pay reparations, but you'll pay reparations to every fucking body else. You'll put a portable fucking port in Gaza, knowing goddamn that's gonna piss people off, knowing that that's gonna piss off Russia, knowing that's gonna irritate Iran. I feel like we're just poking the fucking bear and nobody's saying nothing, because at the end of the day, they need these new Americans. That's why you're having all of these offices. That's why you're having these cities for action, these UNIDOS. These motherfuckers out here fighting more for immigration rights than they fighting for American rights, because we're forgetting about all the fucking homeless people, right? While he went up there and talked about he lowered the insulin, what, so that people who wanted to lose weight could go get it too? Motherfucking stop it. There's always, man, that's the crazy thing of it is, we want to up these people so much instead of just looking at this shit for what it really is, because they don't give a fuck about us. They always do the overlay for the underlay. They don't do this shit because they think it's a good thing. No, they're doing it because it benefits them. Why do you think they're not doing? Come on, man. If y'all don't get the shit, because here's the crazy part. We've been talking about reparations. I can find talks of going back to reparations to the 60s, the 50s. Why are we still talking about it in 2024? Why are we still talking about civil rights? Why are we still talking about shit that Malcolm was talking about? Why are we still talking about shit that Martin was talking about? Right? Because when it comes to people talking about the rights and the wrongs of how we can get to Black empowerment, to Black wealth, we look at these people like they're crazy. We look at the Claude Andersons, the Boyce Watkins, when all they're trying to do is to educate. But see, we don't want to educate. We don't want to educate. We don't want to educate. And that's the problem, because we'd rather be playing PlayStation, Sega, Xbox, right? We want to know who does the best works. We want to know who, you know what I'm saying? All that shit. We don't want to know how to better our communities. We talk about it, but we're really not body about. So I hope people really, really, please educate. I might do a space tonight on Twitter. If I do it, it'll be around 7 o'clock Central Time. I want people to come in, and this is what I want you to know, right? I want people to come in and have thoughtful discourse, right? I want people to come in and let's have a conversation, right? Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, doesn't matter if you're a Republican, doesn't matter if you're conservative, liberal, progressive, socialist, Marxist, capitalist, whatever. I want to come in and have a conversation of how can we better our communities, right? Let's not talk about the issues. Let's talk about the solutions, right? Let's talk about the solutions, because I think there is a lot that have been put out there, and I don't see people going that direction, but the ones that are going those directions, they're not being talked about. So why do we talk about the fuck shit, but we don't never talk about the groups that are actually doing it, but because they're doing it outside of the box and people don't agree with it, it's not right, because we can learn from one another. We can learn. So again, come in tonight. I'll probably do that around 7 o'clock on Twitter. It'll be my first space. I've never done this, and I am going to do it on my laptop, because I will have the mic and with other things. So it'll be a learning curve tonight. So, but again, I'll probably do that around 7 p.m. Central on Twitter. So if you are an activist, an activist, if you're a politician, whatever, you call yourself a revolutionary, revolutionist, a reparationist, a feminist, whatever you call yourself, come in. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about solutions, right? And let's talk about how we can collaborate and help one another, because at the end of the day, this has to be a nationwide movement. This can't be just one singular movement with inside one state. And that's what I'm reaching out to the disruptor, Mark Carter, Derek Gibson, some of the, even Sir Major. This is, and I hope people, you hear this, because right now I have, let me see how many people are watching on Twitter right now. 22 people watching on Twitter right now. So I want to say to the Twitter crowd, because I know some of y'all have Sir Major. Brother, if this is really about bettering our communities, unblock me. Unblock me. Unblock me. If this is really, if you're really about bettering your community, right? Stop blocking me. Don't take me off block. And that goes for anybody else, because there's a lot of people that I've never even had interactions with. And it's because I'm calling out somebody that there is literally evidence of his wrongdoings, but wants to hold other people accountable for words. No, we have to hold everybody accountable. And if niggas don't like that, it's time they got to go. And Malcolm said it the best. Negroes are going to have to be left behind. Everybody ain't going to come along with us. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that we're going to leave them behind. But right now we're on a mission, right? And we should have mission vision. We should have tunnel vision. We should only be seeing the goal line. We shouldn't be letting anything else interfere with us. We shouldn't let nothing else deter us. It should all be on the motherfucking goal. On the goal. And what's the goal? Change. What's the goal? Reparations. What's the goal? That we all live in unity, that we all live peaceful, right? So I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Like I said, tonight, 7 o'clock Central. If I do have to change the time, I will make it. I will make an update, but I should be able to do around, 7, 8 Central tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed yourself today. Thank you. Damn, I gotta say thank you for everybody that viewed today. I've never had this many listeners at one time. I have over 50 people. There's over 34 right now from different platforms, and I have like 20 right now watching on Rumble. So thank you so much. This really does mean a lot for me. And I'm happy and I'm glad to see that people are paying attention, and because this isn't just about me. I hope that I can also learn from you, because I have learned from others. I've learned from so many others. And I want to keep that going, because it's each one teach one, each one teach one. So reach one, each one teach one. However, we're gonna figure out a way to say that. Reach one, each one teach one. Each one, reach one, teach one. So win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great weekend, and I will see you back Monday, same time, same place.
Urban Conservative.